all of you. A warm welcome to Nehru Center, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm the director of the Nehru Center, Srinivas. I'm delighted to see so many distinguished speakers that we managed to put up for the Yoga Symposium today. I was just mentioning earlier that this is the last event for the Yoga Day week, as we come to call it. It's not just one day, it's a whole week of preparations these days. And I have been fortunate enough to be part of the International Yoga Day celebration since it began in 2015. Most of you are aware of the background here, but this really started for us at the Indian missions around the world with the Prime Minister's speech at the UN General Assembly in September 2014. And what followed was a unanimous resolution passed by the UNGA in December the same year, announcing that 21st of June will be celebrated as the International Yoga Day. I think that resolution was co-sponsored by over 170 countries, which is the largest number for UNGA resolutions of that nature. My first Yoga Day, I was just recalling some time back, was in Vietnam, where I was the Deputy Ambassador. I had no idea that yoga was so popular. I don't mind confessing my ignorance on that subject. We organized the first Yoga Day celebrations in Hanoi. We did it in an indoor stadium with a capacity of 5,000 people. There were about 1,000 people on the floor practicing yoga, and the remaining 4,000 plus who were in the audience were not happy that they didn't get a chance to get on the floor to practice yoga. And that sort of made me realize that the Yoga Day celebrations are more about people wanting to practice it rather than watching. And 2015, I moved to London. Last year was a tremendous year here in London. We did a great event, a series of events, in fact, in 2016. This week has been also very successful. We started with the London Eye event on Sunday. We did a big event at Trafalgar Square on Tuesday, a day before the Yoga Day, in fact, because that was the only day we could get the booking at Trafalgar. But despite the heat, the event started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It went on till 8 p.m. And despite all that heat, there were dedicated people who actually believed in this. And they were sitting in that sun on those mats practicing yoga. I took a break after some time, but they continued. And that was something that's a bit of an eye-opener for me. Every Yoga Day event, every Yoga Week events, as I called it earlier, I've been seeing the growing global community, as I'd like to call it, which believes in not just yoga, but the entire philosophy of Indian traditional medicine, Ayurveda, yoga, and a lot of other things, which I'm sure the distinguished speakers that will follow are a better place to explain to you. I call it a global community because I see people from different walks of life, different countries connecting with this, believing that it will give them a healthier state of mind and body and contribute to their wellness and overall well-being, really. So this week we've had a few events at the Nehru Center. This is, in fact, I think the first event that we are collaborating at the Nehru Center with the all-party parliamentary group on Indian traditional medicine. I'm delighted that APPG, APPG has been working on this subject for several years now, and they are a regular collaborator for our events at India House. We have done events with them in India House last year, I remember, but this is the first time that we're doing it at the Nehru Center. There's one person that I'd like to acknowledge behind really the brain behind the all-party parliamentary group. Mr. Amarjit Bamra is here. He's been working tirelessly. Please don't hide behind the curtain. He has been working tirelessly promoting Indian traditional science, and it's no easy task when I say that there are over 30 members of parliament from different political parties who are actually part of the all-party parliamentary group on Indian traditional medicine. And the charter is really promotion of Indian traditional medicine. And that is a big, powerful group to have convinced, to have brought so many people on board to promote Indian traditional medicine in this country. I think that is a tremendous task. I'd like to congratulate you for all the hard work that you've done. We're delighted that we are holding this event with you today here at the Nehru. I'd also like to welcome a couple of distinguished guests that we have. Our guest of honor, Professor Tony Nehru from the MIT, researcher, medical doctor, who's worked for several years in yoga and Ayurveda. He is much more learned than I am on the subject. I had an opportunity to meet with him just 5 minutes back. I think you will find this very enlightening to listen to him. I'd like to please welcome Professor Nehru on stage at this point. Take a seat. And I'd also like to welcome Jaya Rao, who is an eminent speaker who's spoken here at the Nehru Center several times. She needs no introduction here at the Nehru Center or in any yoga, Ayurveda or Vedic philosophy format that we can do in London. Please come. And I'd also, can I request Mr. Bhamra also please join us on stage. Of your time, but I hope that you will enjoy all the sessions that we've lined up today. I wish you all the best, good health and happiness. I'd like to invite Professor Nehru to lead the meditation.
Many will have different ways to settle the mind and go within. I personally practice transcendental meditation from Shogi. So those who practice this technique will close their eyes and start their technique of meditation. Others, they can do their own, whatever they know. And those who don't have any approach to meditation, we just take a few minutes of silence and the mind will float, we let it float as it wants, and just enjoy the quietness and the peace of being with oneself. The self is, in the Veda, a field of bliss. Ananda Dhyeva Kalvimani Bhutani Jayante Anandena Jatani Jivanti. From bliss, everything comes. To bliss, everything goes. Everything floats in bliss. So with that feeling and understanding, let's meet the self of everyone, our own self, which is the self of everything, the self of the universe. And that is a field of pure being, pure bliss. So we'll close the eyes how much? For 5 minutes, and then I'd say Jai Guru there, we'll open the eyes and go on with the afternoon meeting. Let's close up. Hey, Gurudev. Take a few seconds and then slowly open the eyes.
Your Holiness Vasanida, this is Jara Rao, Director, Nehru Center, Minister Kothru, and Assistant Deputy Director, Nehru Center, Symposium, and distinguished guests and my friends. Thank you so much for taking out your extremely valuable time to be with us here today, this morning, at the Symposium on yoga. So I'm sure we have a lot of time, and we'll sort of get into our program slightly more deeper as the day goes along. But may I first take this opportunity to invite Minister Kothru back on stage to offer flowers to our distinguished guests, please. Thank you. I was hoping Minister Kothru would actually sit here as well. Thank you.
I like maintain that people need to see somebody else going.
Thank you.
Always in the last one.
Thank you. So we're absolutely privileged to have with us Mrs. Jai Rao. Mrs. Jai Rao, in your handout, we try to give introduction on some of the work that she does. And I've been profoundly listening to her speeches, especially also on the internet, on YouTube for a little while, and I'm very captured by her command of English and the message that she's, the spiritual message that actually she's putting across to the masses. So I'd like to invite, if I may, Mrs. Jai Rao on the stage and lead the next session, please. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here on this most important day. To begin with, what is yoga? Yoga comes from its Sanskrit root, yuja, which means to join. The essence of yoga is that we have strayed away from ourselves, that we don't know ourselves. And therefore, any method by which we regain our original nature is called yoga. When you are not in your original state, you are in a state of discomfort. And this discomfort manifests as stress, desire, ego, and all the ills that we see in society. The path to that route, to your real personality, involves expansion of the mind. And therefore, inspiration is an essential part of yoga. We all know that in order to achieve greatness, and every human being wants to achieve greatness, you can't achieve that greatness with a small mind. And yet, all human beings across the world are just obsessed with, I me, myself. Yoga is about expansion of self, which is achieved through inspiration. Yoga is not only asanas, pranayama, and physical exercises. It involves, in fact, there are 4 yogas. One is Hatha Yoga, which is generally practiced across the world. Then there is the 3 yogas called Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, which I'll come to shortly. And when the mind is withdrawn from the world and is contemplative and naturally veers towards what is known as open-eyed meditation, then you're fit for meditation, and through meditation, which is the gateway to enlightenment, you reach your original self. This is the pathway. What role does inspiration play? When you're not inspired, by default your mind comes down to just yourself. And thought of self is the greatest barrier to success, to happiness, and to growth. Now, to knock this thought of self from your system, you need to be inspired. Have you seen the movie Honey, I Shrunk My Kids? When the scientist shrinks his own kids to about a few inches high, then even ordinary things become a huge challenge, life-threatening. Not because by themselves they are challenging, but simply because they have shrunk, the kids have shrunk. Similarly, friends, in life today in the world, every little thing seems to be a challenge to us, not because inherently it is life-threatening, but simply because our minds have shrunk. And then you develop this myopic vision and you take the stand, it's my way or the highway. This is what has led to maximum conflict in the world today. And the larger role that yoga can play is to bring back harmony and peace in the hearts and minds of every human being, so that external conflict, war, and all the rest of the ills may be eradicated. What is inspiration? The next thing that happens when you're not inspired is you view everybody as an opponent. You view partners as opponents, friends as enemies. And the one thing that Vedanta, the Vedas speak of, is that there are no enemies outside. All enemies are within us. Turn within, overcome the enemies, conquer the enemies inside you, and externally it will be eradicated. So, the process of enlarging the mind is inspiration. Most of us are at the body level, thinking only of physical things. When you have an emotional motivation, a powerful emotional motivation to work, like a parent who has to stretch her resources to take care of, let's say, a handicapped child, what happens? You break free from the limitations of the body and come up with magical performance. You find a new source of energy within you. You become creative, and that is called emotional motivation. You go a step further and find intellectual conviction. There are people who work for animal welfare, there are people who work for the environment. They start small, but just the fact that they have this intellectual conviction which embraces the whole of humanity, perhaps the whole world, makes them extremely clever, creative, dedicated, and they find infinite source of energy and vitality within themselves. And the final stage is to find spiritual inspiration. Then all barriers break down. and nature cooperates with you. We must start with the first step. Now, Karma Yoga is simply shifting from an attitude of taking, grabbing, aggrandizing, to the attitude of giving, serving, offering. And that pays rich dividend. Bhakti Yoga, devotion, is not allegiance to a particular god, prophet or religion. It is simply eradicating ill will and hatred, dislike from our hearts. And that's a tough one. And Jnana Yoga is to develop that insight, to understand the difference between that which is permanent and the impermanent aspects of life. If one does this, one grows into a towering personality. Today we exist like bonsai friends. We have shrunk, and it is our duty, each one, it's our primary obligation to grow into towering personalities so that we may be of use to the whole world and leave the world a better place than it was when we entered it. Thank you.
Jayaji, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. The All-Party Parliamentary Group, who is partially hosting this event here, has been around for about 4 years, and this actually was creation of a directive that came from the European Union way back in 2004. It basically was looking at possible ways of annihilating herbal traditions from Europe. I'm obviously not very pleased to inform you they were very successful because, as you know, the pharma industry has rolled into invitation policy at these great corridors of power. And so what has actually transpired since then is that we, together with the late Lord King, was very instrumental with me to set up a national safe herbal medicine campaign in the United Kingdom. And that happened on the 12th of November 2009. And so we had our first meeting in the House of Lords, and obviously one of the greatest challenges, I'm speaking to you as we're all one family now, we're all members of the same family. So the greatest challenge actually that was there in front of Lord King, the late Lord King and me, was really not the possibility or the viability for the establishment, the United Kingdom government, to accept what our role in the United Kingdom should be as far as herbal traditions are concerned. But more importantly, the problem was, how do we all come around and sit on one table? There were factions, in the Ayurveda fraternity, factions in Western herbal traditions, factions in traditional Chinese medicine, and factions, in other systems, from North America, Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. So that has continuously been a challenge. When we're at the stage when something that needs to be salvaged, and even then I find it so difficult to come to terms as why we as a family not being able to come together. And the first two meetings was really putting all the effort in getting all the various sections of especially the herbal sector together. And I have no idea how on earth Ayurveda actually got involved in the herbal tradition, because as you hopefully will agree with me, herbal medicine is not Ayurveda. Ayurveda is not herbal medicine. Herbal medicine can be partially Ayurveda because, as you know, we have so many different programs within the structure of the Ayurvedic program. So we launched a campaign, and very quickly we generated about 1.5 million, die-hard signatories who wanted to support the work we were doing. And as the momentum grew, so some of the other very key, very important members of Parliament from both houses, not just the Houses of Commons but also Houses of Lords, started giving us support. And then the idea, the concept of the APPG on Indian traditional sciences was born from there. And the idea being is that if Ayurveda was going through what it has been going through for the last 10 years, that the same will happen to yoga, same will happen to Vastu, same will happen to Jyotish, and same will happen to Gandharv, and so many of the other Indian spiritual traditions. And that is why so appropriately, at that time, we had a very fine collaboration and cooperation with the government of India, especially the High Commission of India here, and they've been absolutely fantastic. They've been supporting us to the hilt, and last year we had the privilege to take to India. The APPG had the privilege to take to India a senior delegation of APPG members, including Lord Stone, who is a member in the House of Lords, and some of the MPs and some of the policymakers, to meet the Minister of Ayush, Minister Nayak, at his office in New Delhi, to basically, put our sort of cards on the table and let them know, where we stand and what cooperation and what help as Indian Sciences Fraternity we're looking for from India. And you'd be pleased to know also that, that wonderful relationship with India and the APPG has carried on, and I'm privileged to say that Professor Tony Nader was patron at the last Ayurveda Congress here in London, I think about 3 months ago. And I was very honored to be invited there by my very good friend Richard, who's here with us today. So I had the opportunity to meet His Holiness Professor Nader at that Congress. That was my first meeting. But the more important thing was that the Minister Nayak was also in attendance at the Ayurveda Congress, which obviously shows the keenness of the government of India to help us, to hopefully, create some sort of settlement, of Ayurveda, especially, and some of the other sister therapies like yoga and etc. Here in the UK. And the question is not that all the great work that we're doing here, and it was in fact His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that started all this here, back 40-50 years back, I think. Yes, I was a very young man at that time. No white hair at that time. I don't think I even had a beard then. But I remember having an audience with Maharishi Ji here in London, and all I can say now is that I hope that I will have even a great privilege and an opportunity to serve at the feet of Professor Tony Nader and the Maharishi organization, because I really think they've done absolutely brilliant work as far as all Indian traditional sciences are concerned, not just here in the UK but worldwide. And so Professor Nader, as the as far as the All Party Parliamentary Group is sort of driving forward with all its passion and enthusiasm, we would like to see your ever more close relationship with the Maharishi Foundation in all aspects, not just specifically on Ayurveda and yoga. And it's very timely. The time is actually right now for us more people to achieve something in this lifetime, and to be able to bring in speakers, from Gandharv and Jyotish and other traditions. So we have every quarter we have a meeting at the House of Parliament where we invite scholars and specialists to come and speak about specific subjects. And the idea behind that is that so we want to create a vehicle so that the British parliamentarians have some basic fundamental idea as to where our traditions are coming from. And I'm very passionate about that, and I'm a great believer in all the Indian traditional sciences. And I think that we may be the best Ayurvedic physicians, best Ayurvedic practitioners, and best yoga practitioners, and Vastu and Jyotish and etc. But I think, as a family, we need to have that representation. We need to have that place within the corridors of power. They really need to understand us. And it's like, if you don't ask something, then you don't get it. So we made with your with Blessings of the Universe, we made some inroads into the areas of yoga. As far as yoga is concerned, we're speaking with the NHS England and Department of Health here in England, and there are one or two exceptional presenters who will be inviting us on that as the day progresses on that front. So the idea really is the end game is basically to try and work with the establishment and to try and so that they can incorporate yoga and Ayurveda and other Indian sciences into their NHS program. That really is where I think we want to go. And so I'm hoping that through your graciousness, Professor Nehru and Mrs. Rao, that you will continue to support the activities of the Parliamentary Group on Indian Traditional Sciences in the future, and also act for us as hope and light of beacon, and give us inspiration, further inspiration, and give us your blessings, and this obviously affects all of us, and so we'll be keen to develop that relationship further with you. I'm going to note just a couple of house notes. There, if any of you want to use a washroom, it's just immediately outside the door here on the left. If anybody would like to use a washroom, and if you can put your phones on silence. And there is Diana here, who will be so it's called the time card. So those speakers who will be here speaking, and she will be actually pointing out how many minutes you have left. So please adhere to that. I'd like to very quickly invite Dr. Atik here this morning. Dr. Atik is the principal at the College of Ayurveda UK. He's the only formal Ayurveda recognized college in the UK. He's been running this institution for the last 20 years. And I'd like to invite Dr. Atik to offer a rosary to Professor Nehru, please. And can I please invite Dr. Joshi, Anjali Joshi, to please honor Dr. Mrs. Jaya Rao, please. senior lecturers on Ayurveda and yoga, and she'll be actually leading the moderate for our next session. So thank you so much for that. So many times, when I have the privilege to teach, the very little humble knowledge I have, and my students ask me, what am I doing with this, around my neck? What does it actually mean? So this is the explanation I give them. So if I'm wrong, then please, try and be right, give me some further ideas. So Ayurveda, as we all know, is a mind-body-spirit concept of health and wellness. And then we obviously also look at yoga, which is Ayurveda assisted therapy. And I often refer to my students that, and although you need to be able to learn Sanskrit before you want to really learn Ayurveda, so you need to look at about investing 8 to 10 years of your life before you can actually get to that stage. Yeah, be able to read somebody's spiritual DNA and to try and put them on straight and narrow. Is that, then you really, need to look at yoga. Yoga is a sister therapy to Ayurveda, which takes, so many years. I think somewhere I read it takes about 13 years, if I'm not right, to actually learn, fundamental values of yoga. And then you're looking at, some of the other therapies also. For example, Jyotish comes into medical, Jyotish comes into this. And then inevitably, we look at the association, the link, where the science meets spirituality, and this is the link. So we have in Ayurveda, as most of you, and also yoga, as most of you may be aware, that we have certain points in our body which are known as marma points. Yeah? Marma points means secret points, and there are 108 marma points on the whole system. So that's on the physical body that you can identify them and then you can work on them. And so we have in our solar system, how many planets? 9 planets, yeah? Not a trick question. 9 planets. And 12 months in the calendar. 12 nines are 108. Voila, 108. So 108 weeks. And so the idea really is that through the eyes of Jyotish, we can, our destiny, as you know, is already written. But there are certain things you can do to remedy, certain issues and areas that in your life that you go through. And that this is a tool for that. So in our Indian tradition, it's very important that a rosary can be made of wool and the other rosary is from Rudrash. But essentially they all have 108 points, 108 beats. Okay, so I'd like to, if I may please take this opportunity to invite our very special guest. I'm absolutely privileged that Professor Tony Nehru could take this time to be with us in his very exhaustive timetable. And first of all, apologies that we couldn't put together the program on the 21st, which is the International Day of Yoga at the House of Parliament. As you know, that the government was running into sort of some timing difficulties and the Queen's speech and the opening of Parliament. And so therefore all events were closed down on that day. But we are hoping that Professor Nehru and all you beautiful people will join us on Monday the 10th of July in room number 14 at the House of Parliament for a complete program. And I'm hoping obviously by then things will have settled down a bit politically and that we'll have much more interaction with the other group members or the other parliamentarians who are part of the group and some of the key figures. And it would be my hardest desire for Professor Nehru to join us on that occasion. I have requested Mrs. Rao, but unfortunately by then she would already be in India. So, Professor Tony Nehru is a medical doctor who was a clinical and research fellow in neurology at the, I can never pronounce his name. Can you help me? How do you pronounce that name? Massive. General Hospital. Harvard Medical School. He's also a science with a PhD in brain and brain and cognitive science from the Institute of Technology, where he was assistant director of the Clinical Research Center. Professor Nehru was introduced to Ayurveda and other areas of the Vedic knowledge by Maharishi, who guided his training under the most renowned Vedic scholars. He became the international president of the Maharishi Ayurveda universities, conducted some of the first ever research on Ayurvedic rasayanas, and trained over 2,000 doctors in Ayurveda. With the guidance of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Professor Nehru has successfully correlated each aspect of the Vedic literature to a specific area of physiology. This profound correlation between consciousness and physiology is the subject matter of Professor Nehru's first book, Human Physiology. Expression of Veda and the Vedic literature. This discovery has been appreciated by scientists and political leaders throughout the world. So, friends, he then furthered his work in a new publication showing the perfect correlation between every moment of the story of Ramayana with every detail of human physiology and the transformations that take place as we rise to a higher state of consciousness. Professor Nehru was honored by Maharishi with the title Maharaja Adiraj Rajaram. That's the official title. In 2000, Maharishi appointed Professor Nehru as his successor and gave him responsibility for guiding the global country of world peace, the umbrella organization of all Maharishi's worldwide legacy of administration, knowledge, and practical technologies. He is a world leader in Maharishi's Vedic Science and Technology program, and we're absolutely delighted he's with us. And I now pass the microphone to His Holiness for his supreme words of wisdom. Thank you.
There will be some slides. I don't know if you like to. It's a great joy to be here